In a kingdom where winter never ends and power is more a curse than a blessing, one young queen stands at the edge of ruin and revelation. Frost and Death is not merely a fantasy tale. It's a deeply emotional journey about grief, identity, power, and the quiet desperation of a heart longing for warmth in a world made of ice. The story begins with Queen Tove, the reluctant ruler of Axedoria, a once thriving land now drowned in snow and silence. The moment her family died and the crown passed to her, everything changed, not only politically but physically. With her ascension came a strange, divine power from the Makers, mystical beings who once gifted abilities to 6 lands. But unlike the gifts of prosperity or healing the other rulers received, Tove inherited a gift of frost, and she couldn't control it. From the moment she wore the crown, her kingdom began to freeze. Trees withered. Crops died under sheets of ice. Rivers hardened. Her people, once full of joy and reverence, began to look at her with suspicion and fear. Rumors of a cursed queen began to spread. Whispers in dark corners called her a bringer of death, not life. Alone in a frozen palace, Tove struggled to hold herself together, her identity, her power, her place. The only one who remained loyal without question was Nikolaj, her chief advisor. More than a political guide, he had known Tove since she was a free-spirited young princess. He remembered her laughter before the grief took hold. Through every storm and every sleepless night, Nikolai stood by her, silently wishing he could thaw her sadness, even if he never found the words to say how he truly felt. Tove knew she had to act, not just for the kingdom's future, but for its present survival, so she made a bold choice. A grand week-long celebration would be held, inviting noblemen and royalty from nearby lands. The purpose? To find her a husband, a consort who could not only share the crown, but perhaps help stabilize the kingdom, politically, emotionally, and maybe magically. As banners were raised and fires lit in the capital for the first time in months, suitors arrived in glittering armor and with sharpened smiles. Among them were the charming, the cunning, and the ambitious, each one presenting a potential alliance. But none of them could reach the part of Tove that was buried under frost and fatigue. None except one. He didn't come with trumpets or fanfare. In fact, no one even knew who invited him. His name was Rick. He dressed simply, his words were few, and his presence made the air around him strangely still. When Tove first met him, something inside her stirred. It was not trust or attraction, not yet, but recognition. As if he too carried a secret burden, as if his silence understood hers. While the festival raged on, filled with dance and deceit, Rick and Tove found themselves drawn to each other, like 2 cold flames searching for heat. He listened without asking. He spoke only when needed. And slowly, as Tove opened up, she learned the truth. Rick, too, had been touched by the Makers. His gift was not of frost, but of death, of endings, of closures, of cycles. Where Tove's power slowed and silenced, Rick's extinguished and cleansed. They were opposites, yet kindred. Together their powers balanced each other. But with that revelation came danger. A bond between 2 gifted beings was rare, possibly forbidden. Their connection might bring salvation or destruction, and the court noticed. Nikolai watched all of this unfold, loyal as ever, but hurting more with each stolen glance. Tove shared with Rick. He had never spoken of his love for her, never dared. But now he feared he might lose her, not just to politics or grief, but to someone who might be his rival in more ways than one. Still, Nikolai chose to protect her first, always. Tensions grew in the palace. Some courtiers saw Rick as a threat, suspecting his powers, questioning his past. Others whispered that Tove was losing focus, that her heart was guiding her crown. In a world already frozen by magic, any misstep could be fatal. Tove tried to remain strong, but the pressure mounted from all directions, external enemies, internal doubts, and the haunting possibility that she might not be meant to rule at all. One night, deep in the palace library, Tove discovered a forgotten book, an ancient record of the first queens, and their connection to the Makers. Inside were clues, spells, and truths about the nature of frost. She learned that frost was not only a force of stillness, but a tool of transformation, Just as fire purifies through flame, frost preserves through pause. It does not only kill, it holds, waits, prepares. This shifted something inside her. For the first time, Tove stopped fearing her power. She began to study it, practice it, shape it, and with Rick's help and Nikolai's steadfast presence, she started to control it. Not let it control her. But peace is never easy. News arrived that a coalition of neighboring kingdoms, frightened by Axidoria's unpredictable queen, was planning an invasion. They saw the frost as a threat, a disease that must be eradicated. War was coming. Tove had a choice: run, surrender, or fight. She chose to fight, not out of pride, but for her people, for her identity, for the hope that she might one day rule with warmth, not fear. On the battlefield, her powers combined with Rick's. Ice and death met in harmony. Blizzards swirled not in chaos, but in precision. Enemies froze in place, their weapons falling before they could strike. And all the while, Nikolai led her armies with courage and brilliance. Victory came, but at a cost. The world would always look at Axidoria with caution, and Tove would always carry the weight of her gift. But she was no longer afraid of it. She had learned that true strength was not in power alone, but in understanding, balance, and the courage to feel. The story closes with Tove standing on her balcony, watching fresh snow fall, not with dread but peace. Rick stands at one side, Nikolai at the other. They are not competitors but pillars, representing the two halves of her heart. With them, Tove has built not just a kingdom but a home. Conclusion. Frost and Death is more than a fantasy novel. It is an emotional excavation of grief, power, healing, and the complexity of the human heart. It's about a young woman who is told she is too dangerous to love and too broken to rule, and how she proves them all wrong, not by denying her weakness but by embracing it. The story invites listeners to explore what it means to inherit pain, to choose love in the face of fear, and to find harmony in chaos. With lyrical prose, rich world building, and characters that feel deeply real, this audiobook promises to not only transport you but transform you. In the quiet cold of this tale lies something rare, a fire that burns slow but never goes out. Are you ready to listen?